This is a subject close to our hearts because it deals with leaving the shores of the UK and opening our wings to the rest of the world and some of the best places to move to on the friendliness scale. According to the Expat Guide into Nations, they did a survey, they asked expats in 53 different nations about how satisfied they were with their move to that country. It must be said that we Brits certainly know how to spread ourselves about. So where are these friendly nations? Well, topping the charts of charm is Costa Rica. 88% of expats feel welcome, with 83% saying they fit in well and are content. A third, at least, believe it's easy to adopt to the local culture. And the culture and way of life are relaxed and almost going back to basics. So, you won't have your Chesterfield three-piece suites
Yeah.
and your, lavish cars on the drive. You might have a bicycle and a little wicker chair and settee. It's just basics, very basics.
Nice. Yeah.
Mexico comes in second if you can get past the mariachi bands.
Mm.
75% of expats are happy with social life,
Mm.
and 83% feel welcome. Now, I know a Mexican. He lived here for a while, and then he moved back to Mexico.
Okay.
And yeah, they're quite open.
Mm.
Got a bit of a problem with the drugs at the moment
Well,
and
yeah.
the corruption.
Mm.
However, if you keep your nose out of politics and drugs,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
life goes on, I suppose.
Happy days. Yeah.
You get by as you can.
Mm.
The Philippines are third
Mm.
at 68% of expats having a friendly social relationship with the native neighbours.
Mm.
The lifestyle is a lot more open and liberal.
Yeah.
85% of expats feel they are welcome, and 80% feel at home.
Mm.
Once again, the Philippines, the culture is a lot different than what it is in the UK.
Mm.
So you've got to be prepared to adapt to the
Yes.
culture country that you go to.
Mm.
Least friendly is Kuwait. That came in at number 53.
Oh.
Only 25% feel welcome and half feeling uneasy about being there. 47% say getting used to the culture is difficult,
Mm.
and a half are only friends with other expats. So the expats there seem to be very insular
Mm.
and don't want to mingle with the locals for one reason or another. Norway, surprisingly, is on the lower end of the table. 67% of expats find it a challenge to blend in, and a half are unhappy with their social life. Expats find it difficult to assimilate the local culture, even though they can speak Norwegian. So they can communicate, but for some reason or another, the locals aren't really all that. In spite of the fact that Norway is quite an insular sort of community because of the weather,
Mm.
so people tend to spend more time at home.
Yeah.
And I don't suppose in Norway you throw your doors on to all and sundry, just, to be friendly. You tend to have your little niche of friends, and, you know,
Yeah.
that's Norway for you. Of the list of 53, Brazil
Mm.
comes in fifth,
Mm.
fifth in
Fifth.
the
Mm.
friendly states.
Yeah.
And the UK, they stand at an uptight, for whatever reason, 42nd of the 53.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
So we can understand, I suppose, to a certain extent, why the UK as 43 because it
Mm.
never used to be.
Mm.
Never used to be. But I think with this influx of the boats and the strain of the government and things like that,
Yeah.
that things are getting a little bit tight in the UK, and
Yeah.
so they don't have that much wiggle room
Yeah.
to welcome yet another foreign person to live on the street corner next to the expats
Yeah.
living there already, you know.
Mm.
But there you have it. It seems like Costa Rica is the most friendly place on earth,
Yeah.
according to Internations. This
Mm.
is a website about expats.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And Kuwait is footing the bill. Brazil coming in fifth. I think it's salient to say that if you decide, if you're in the UK and you decide to become an expat, you need to make sure that you are compatible to where you're planning on going. So, for example, a fair-skinned person going to somewhere near the Sahara Desert is not indicated because you can't turn the sun off,
Yeah.
and the heat is going to get to you even
Mm.
in the shade.
Yeah.
I know that because I made a mistake or two here in Brazil during the hot summers, and it can get quite warm here.
Yes. Yeah.
And I did fall asleep on the beach once, and
Ooh.
that was a bad move.
Yes. Yeah. We've all done crazy things here. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's funny
Yeah.
because some people that they go on holiday to these places,
Yeah.
they go home and they're all just red. It's like almost third-degree burns.
Yeah.
And the neighbors say, "Oh, look at their tan,
Mm.
their tan.
That's yeah.
Look
Yeah.
at their visit to the ER."
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
There you have it. Away you go. You can share your story about how you ended up here
Well,
and the hoops we had to jump through and
oh yeah.
things like
Well,
that.
I mean, I'll start off by saying, yeah, I think it's fair assessment that Brazil is fifth most friendly place. I mean, I've got no other judgment against it about it, but yeah, all I'll say is, I can't say the experience I've had living in Brazil has been bad, even with my very bad assimilation into Portuguese, as Steve will tell you. It's not brilliant. I'll not
Not
come
one of the
top of the
best.
class. Yeah, I won't come top of the class with my Portuguese.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm probably just above curate on that score. You're doing that. Yeah, it's um, they're very friendly people. I mean, our own personal experiences before I go into how I came here is I walked to my local supermarket here. Yeah. And they got to know me in there now. Yeah. And if I have a problem or they come and offer, they come and look and make it clear they want to help me. You know, it's like, and I think that the Brazilians are actually very, very friendly. Yeah, don't believe everything you read in the media. It's not like that. They'll go out their way to help foreign people. The Brazilians will very willingly as well. Yeah, they get frustrated if they can't help you. It's like they feel they've let you down. Yeah, sem problema, sem problema. Yeah, eu entendo. Yeah. Oh no, no, the scoop. Yeah, it's almost like they feel bad about not being able to help you. It's not their fault. Yeah. Um, Probably up there with the British apologising for the weather somewhere, Sorry that it's raining for you today. Confuses the hell out of a lot of people. Um, yeah, now I ended up here obviously because I married a Brazilian, lived in England, just happened to go to England to study English for a year, planned on coming back to Brazil, met me, ended up staying there over 10 years. Yeah, very long term to learn English. Um, and yeah, obviously had family and things, but yeah, just decided that my wife was homesick for Brazil. Yeah, which Brazilians do suffer a lot with, more than us Brits do probably. Um, yes, you mustn't move to a country expecting it to suddenly decide to become like your own home country. Yeah. If you want that in Brazil, you're going to be very disappointed. And I will say to, if you do move to Brazil, have a lot of patience. Things aren't going to always happen quick. Say things don't happen quickly. When the Brazilians decide to make things happen, it will happen. Yeah. And I can't speak for other Costa Rica or anywhere else. I don't know. But yeah, my own experiences are you have to prepare to adapt to your environment. The environment isn't necessarily going to adapt to you. Yeah. Um,
I think that's a general rule of thumb
yeah.
as to wherever you go. I mean, before I came here to Brazil, I've lived in Switzerland,
Mm,
I've lived in France, I've lived in Spain,
yeah.
and each country has its own particular traits,
Yeah. Of
and you
course.
have to adapt to these traits
Mm,
to fit in. Because if you don't, if you're trying to be a round peg going into a square hole
yeah.
all the time, you're going to get very frustrated.
Yeah. Oh,
So you have to adapt to your surroundings,
mm,
adapt to you. As a friend of mine once said to a tourist in Germany,
yeah.
there are no fish and chips here.
Yeah.
You know, you have to adapt to the diet,
Yeah.
you know, and the way that people are.
Yeah. I mean, um, yeah, I'm gonna definitely rim. Like, even I'm a Catholic, biggest Catholic country in the world. It's a slightly different flavour of Catholicism here. Yeah. Um, I won't say it's totally alien to me the way I was brought up, but it's different. Not just because they speak Portuguese here, which is probably, yeah, probably closer to the original Latin, but also, or not the original Latin, but yeah, Latin. But it's also, yeah, the way they interpret things. Um, very, very. The Catholicism is very based on Our Lady, on Mary, yeah, Mother of Jesus. For anyone that's, yeah, not Christian or Catholic, very more based around that. Even to the point they found a statue, a Aparecida, in the sea, drag that up, um, and then decide to build an entire chapel to it, which, yeah, I have a few issues with about, yeah, worshipping idols and things, but I don't want to upset any Brazilians over that because there's a statue in another room in my house of this thing, and my wife has been to the shrine. But yeah, okay, that's how people want to be. Um, but yeah, you make the allowances. Um, it's like I said, I mean, very one thing you do notice with probably a lot more Latin-based countries as opposed to our own Anglo-Saxon based country, for want of a better term. I hate that term, but it's not necessarily true, but it's is the closeness of families. Yeah. So if you're fortunate enough to be involved with a family in whatever context that is, you're probably quite lucky. Um, yeah, you've got to understand that even families operate in a different way from the way us British people do. Yeah, and probably Germans. Um,
Here, one of the screaming differences
mm,
is that in well, certainly when I was back in the day in
mm,
the UK,
mm,
I left home when I was 17 years old.
yeah,
My sister left home at 17. My
mm,
brother left home at 18.
mm,
And a lot of my friends, they also left home around about that age.
yeah,
And here it's totally different. You know,
mm,
the families. I mean, my son, my youngest son,
mm,
who's living with me here now,
yeah,
he's almost 30,
mm,
you
yeah,
know, and I'm waiting, you know. I'm saying to him, flap your wings. He said, what wings? I says, for goodness sake, grow wings. Drink some Red Bull.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I know the lad concerned. He's a good lad. So yeah,
He's a good
Steve,
lad. No,
yeah, yeah,
he's a good lad.
yeah,
And where Julia is in on the farm,
mm,
the eldest lad is 31,
mm,
and he's still living with his mum, you know.
yeah.
And it's nothing new. This is nothing strange here.
No, no,
But my next door neighbor, he must be 40,
yeah,
45,
yeah.
and he's still living with his mother.
Well, to a certain point, the families here become the social services. Yeah, like
Yes, yes.
the social support. There's been times, yeah, when I first moved here, unfortunately, my in-laws, my father and mother-in-law, mother-in-law's since died, lovely woman. She adopted me a little bit. Um, yeah, they had space for us to move into. That's where we lived when we first moved here. Yeah, that's what I, yeah. Didn't really feel it. I mean, yeah, the dynamics of the family are very different. In fact, they're over worried about me. Yeah, it was almost, I wouldn't say irritating, but yeah. Yeah, I mean yeah, her mother, my wife's mother had met my mother, and yeah, they formed a connection where I didn't speak the same language. It's quite funny actually. There's a video of them embracing each other. But yeah, decided that because I've moved here, she was going to take responsibility of being my mother, a 30-something-year-old man. Yeah. And that's what that's what they're like here. Possibly a little bit different in the UK. Um,
In Limoeiro,
yeah.
in our neighbour, uh,
Mm,
our neighbour on the farm,
mm,
um, she's a little old lady. She's 82 now, I think.
mm,
And my mother, she died some 20 years ago, I
mm,
suppose,
yeah.
15 years ago. And I said to this neighbor, I said, right, so, I don't have a mother. You're my mother now, you
Yeah.
know. And she welled up as if to say, it's the biggest sort of award
Yeah.
I could give to somebody,
Yeah. Yeah.
and she said, oh, yes, oh, yes. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. I mean,
Because her kids are grown up.
yeah.
Like, but the funny thing is that her kids are younger than me.
Yeah. But it's yeah, but obviously getting back to the charts and all that. I mean, okay, I don't know why Kuwait was so low. I suppose if you're working in Kuwait, you're probably either attached to the oil business or some sort of engineering project. Um, it's probably a very impersonal thing you're there for originally. And if you're taking your wife and possibly your family there as well, yeah, you're going to be stuck with the expat community because you're probably not going to be there for till the end of days, as it were. I don't know.
Well,
I
this is
can't
the
speak.
this is the stipulation of the internations that you
Yeah.
go in there to live.
Oh,
You,
okay. Yeah.
but yes, I'd agree with you that places like Kuwait
Mm.
are very much money orientated.
Yeah.
Normally, people go there they go there because of their job, I suppose,
Yeah.
or go there to advance in their careers. And it's a
Yeah.
very professional, very honed
No.
in,
Yeah.
uh, and your time is limited as to what you do outside of work.
Yeah.
I imagine.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably a very safe country to live in. I'd imagine Kuwait, a bit like Qatar and other places. Yeah. I've heard, I know people that have lived in these places and well, it is safe. Um, but again, like you say, probably nobody's about, or you
Just,
live in compounds or you live in certain
you,
areas. Yeah.
you just steer clear of the people with no hands.
Yeah, well, they don't. Yeah, they're not going to rob you anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes, it's slightly different to here. Yes, agreed.
it can duff you up a little bit.
Still got shook. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean. Yeah. I mean. Yeah. That's the Stephen myself thing. I mean, the thing is, yeah, the saying goes, um, lived out my own country or lived away from your own country for so long. Yeah. Still not assimilated totally into here. A stranger in my own place. Yeah. Um, I went back to the UK a few years ago, having left there, and it it was changing. I felt now part of me thinks, well, okay, I've probably changed a bit as well, and some of my attitude. You do become a little bit more relaxed and laid back here, possibly. Yeah, you can't understand why people get upset about the slightest things because here you'd be going absolutely mad. Yeah. Um, yeah, it's almost a case of a weekend. Yeah, I went off and did my own thing. I found a substitute beach somewhere. Well, I don't go to the beach every weekend, but you understand what I'm saying. Yeah, or something. Um, that yeah, I felt I couldn't always have a people wouldn't be able to relate to me if I spoke about my normal life here. Yeah. It would seem very, very strange. I mean, I must admit, the last time I was in UK, I was visiting I was working in different parts of the country I'd never been to before. So I was visiting castles and other cities and towns. Yeah. Coventry's very nice, by the way. I visited Coventry last time I was up there. Never been there before. Um, and also North Wales. I was working in North Wales. I never thought I'd be there. So did some strange things there. Almost as a tourist, bit of working one. Yeah. Which was a different perspective for me. Yeah. I wasn't from the area anyway. Yeah. I managed to walk into a bar, into a Welsh pub to go and watch England play football with an English shirt on, which when I worked out two things were wrong. The England game wasn't even on,
Well,
and the eyes were all on me. Yeah.
yeah.
Didn't do it deliberately to cause problems. I thought, oh, was bound to be, people interested. No, not at all. Yeah. Um, I had a bit of a laugh with a couple of locals and left, but yeah. Um, yeah, I didn't feel I was a stranger in my own land. I mean, I've always accepted. Yeah. I mean,
I think when you talk about the changes that are happening
yeah,
in the UK when you go back and visit,
yeah,
I can draw a parallel to that of watching your children grow.
mm,
Um, if your child's always with you, you're not gonna perceive
mm,
that they're growing.
no,
You just don't realize how quickly they are growing.
mm,
However, when you move away for a while
yeah,
and then you go back and see your child
mm,
or see your cousin or whatever it is,
yeah,
and you see that they're a different size now,
oh yeah, yeah,
and you think, wow, how did that happen in only 5 years?
mm,
You know, and an example was yesterday in the supermarket.
mm,
I came across an old friend that I hadn't seen for 26 years.
oh, yeah,
26 years. And the last time that we'd sort of mingled, if you like,
mm,
was when I'd lost my kid, lost Mikey
yeah,
on the beach.
oh, okay,
And he was 4 years old.
yeah,
He was 4 years old. And so, I imagine her seeing this bloke
mm,
more or less at my side, towering over me.
yeah,
I said, and that little boy that you helped to rescue off the beach when you
yeah,
found him,
yeah,
it's this monster here.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
Which, and that's what, like going back to the UK sporadically,
yeah,
the people in the UK won't notice the differences that are happening.
mm,
They'll absorb them.
yeah,
But us going backwards and forwards, they'll be starker for us.
yeah,
We'll see the big differences.
yeah. I mean, I'll be quite honest. I mean, I don't think the changes were necessarily for the good, but I mean, that's, yeah, but
Not,
it's
not every change is.
no, but yeah, it was a bit, I wouldn't say a shock. I was working, so again, it was a working thing, and I just, um, but yeah, to even sort of think about, yeah, I mean, yeah, when your news is, I mean, now we're living in a global communications world, yeah, and yeah, sometimes yeah, you get the news from home. I've stopped watching so much news from the UK now. I get not snippets. I have a zap of it, yeah, or something Steve might send me. Um, I tend not to. I would say I have about 10 minutes, so I just check the headlines on certain news outlets and just to see what's happening. Um, Not to try to get too depressed about it. Yeah. I try and find some positive news as well, and it's like that's very difficult sometimes. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, and yeah, my own perception of, and it's very very strange because when you see people getting upset about things, probably in the UK, as I say, yeah, and things that I would consider quite normal, run of the mill in Brazil,
Yep.
which I find, well, why are you getting upset about that? That's normal. Yeah, it's literally like this sometimes. Um, and yeah, it's society things and different changes. And
From what I gather, society in the UK is getting very stressed.
yeah,
I often ask myself,
mm,
if I didn't have family in the UK, would I be able to move there
mm,
and become an expat, Pat,
mm,
if you know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Would I be able to fit in again? Uh,
Um,
and I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And I've come to a certain age where
yeah,
I don't know if I've got the energy to do all this again.
yeah. It's adaptation of readapting to get, and it'd be even worse because you'd have past memories of how you think things should be,
Yeah.
and then
And then
we've
we're not.
already. I'm like you. I mean, when I was last back there, I thought, um, I said to my wife, if I moved back there, I don't think I'd want to move back to my own place. I'd want to actually make a big change. I mean, move to Scotland or move to Wales or move to Ireland or, well, okay, move somewhere different where I knew it's going to be different. Maybe that would be the encouragement to adapt. I mean, um, yeah, I'm a little bit younger than you. Maybe I've got, yeah, still got a bit of energy and willingness to do it. I don't think I have. Um, I think having lived here and probably become so relaxed about things, I think I would find it very, very difficult to do that. I'll be quite honest. I'll be too relaxed.
But we've
And
got rules in the UK freezing your balls off.
yeah, that's the, you're not selling it to me, mate. You know, I mean, we've just talked about, yeah, get burning in the shade almost here. Um, it's, yeah, it's nice to wake up in the morning. I was going to say, be nice and healthy, but you've just had a cough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I've got
it
virus now.
yeah, happens everywhere. But yeah, I don't have the aches and pains I started to develop in the UK because of the cold and everything. Yeah. I feel overall a lot healthier. A lot of people say I'm happier. Life is a struggle here. Don't get me wrong. I'm not living here the life of a wealthy bingo. I'm living here the life of of a native almost. Sometimes a little bit more difficult. Yeah. I've had to I've had to learn new skills to survive. Yeah. The culture and language is part of it. Having to, um, yeah, be able to adapt to having clients who think differently from us, who then asking me, how do I behave like a gringo? Yeah. Well, I don't really know anymore. Well, I do, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah. This is why I do podcasts about planning and things like that, things I see that possibly the country that I now choose to live in could possibly benefit from understanding a bit more about. Um, because yeah, I have a lot of respect for a lot of people here. Sometimes possibly a bit more respect than I have for my own fellow country people who have everything and have lost everything. Yeah, controversial note to end on, I know. Yeah, and it's like you say, when I go back, I'd probably be very, very frustrated. Um, Having had to fight for an awful lot of things to survive, and then going back to a country where I'm still prepared to do that fight, and it probably wouldn't be compatible with people. It sounds odd, yeah. Um,
I get where you're coming from.
yeah. Um, if I want to do,
That was very Americanized, wasn't it? I get
yeah,
where you're coming
well, that's it. But we are virtually living in an American. I'm not saying American country. The influence. That's the other thing we have in Brazil, which other
You
countries.
live in the Americas. So.
Yeah, in Americas, we have probably we have more influence from the Americas or North America than we do from Europe. Um, to the point where, yeah, I will sometimes say trash because it's easier for a Brazilian to understand. Yeah, yeah. If I say trash to my father, yeah, he gives me 50 lines. I will not say trash. I will say rubbish almost. Yeah. Yeah, he hates it on when you accidentally slip it into something on WhatsApp, an Americanism. Yeah. Or sometimes you put a Portuguese word in there and then you change it quickly. Oh, yeah, didn't mean to say it. But yeah, yeah. But yeah, adaptation is everything. Um, if you're not prepared to adapt, You're going to live in some isolation anyway. That's natural. Yeah. And probably even the people around you, your immediate, your wife or whoever's going to, if they've had experience elsewhere. Where some, conversely, I think my wife experienced the same problems that we were just talking about, moved back to UK. And I see this with other members of her family have moved to Europe. They come back and visit and then expect, oh, why don't the Brazilians do this? You are Brazilian. If you can't answer that, yeah. It's like my wife, will criticize Brazil, trying to impose, even now, still impose her own standards on it from another place. Whereas I walk past something, I ignore it now. It's different. When you're walking along the street, yeah, I've become more tuned and my spatial awareness has improved here. Yeah, because I like to know everything going on. And that's not for fear of being robbed or anything. It's a fear of walking along the street. And let's put it this way, sometimes the roads aren't as the UK standards used to be. Used to be.
I was going to say, because of what I've heard coming out of the UK, there's more potholes in the UK than what there are here.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And here they're still building.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, the potholes do get identified and filled in, quite quickly here now, especially with sea feet. Yeah. I mean, even the locals will, if it's an unmade road, will go and fill things in themselves. Yeah.
which is
Self,
something that which is something that in the UK you'll never see. People would rather people would rather suffer,
yeah.
complain,
Mm,
and wait for the council than to just go outside with a shovel,
yeah.
fill in a hole or two.
Yeah. I've seen happen here. I mean, yeah, they still do things for the sake of community and everything else here. Yeah, okay, it can be dangerous sometimes doing that because it's a temporary fix at best, but um, it's
Better,
improving.
better
I mean,
than the outside out.
yeah, I think overall I've seen Brazil improve compared with Europe. Um, I mean, okay, it was starting there, it's gone up to here a bit. I'll explain this to Brazilians. Yeah.
One of the things I found since I moved here,
Mm.
because Brazil in itself is getting richer,
Yeah.
and the people are starting to eat better. They're starting
Mm.
to their quality of life, especially in the lower echelons
Mm.
of life, is getting better.
Yeah.
So you used to see an awful lot of thin people walking around,
Mm.
and you think, well, they must be on a healthy diet. They're slim walking around, but
Yeah.
of course, it's that they're eating
Mm.
hardly anything
Mm.
because back in the 90s,
Yeah.
inflation was extremely high,
Yeah.
hyperinflation,
Yeah.
and so not everybody had the money to buy. To have like a couple of meals a day,
Yeah.
or even one meal a day.
Yeah.
These days, the Brazilians are a little bit more plump, should we say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And what I've also seen is their conscience um, going leaps and bounds
Mm.
as to what is right and what is wrong.
Mm.
In the old days, in the 90s, a Brazilian would do what he wants
Yeah.
just to satisfy him.
Jatino.
These,
Yeah.
these days, they tend to think about the people around them as well before they do anything bad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I must admit, I've seen that past 10 years. Yeah, it's I mean, yeah, as a gringo, they check everything's all right with me, and it's not a cynical thing. And they ask opinions, my opinion, or they ask our opinions now.
Oh, the locals, they tell me stuff that they wouldn't tell the next door neighbor.
Oh
They
yeah,
wouldn't tell the Brazilian. It's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they,
It's like
they tell me stuff that I would never dream. I would never dream telling anybody.
yeah, yeah.
And I think it's because they think that I'm not going to tell anybody for some reason.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, when you go on the metro, somebody will try and have a conversation with you here about something, like you say, about something. Yeah. Anyway, on that note, I think yes. So yeah, to sum up, yeah, be prepared to adapt if you're going to move. Don't expect the country to adapt around you. Don't expect people to come and knock on your door saying,
Do your
"Hey,
homework. Do your
here's a
homework.
cake." Yeah, yeah. You got to make your own life. think about, and before you do move, think very, very seriously before going somewhere else, the impact it's going to have on you. Because going crazy in a foreign country is not really a very, very good option. I will say that. Doesn't matter if it's in Northern Europe or, yeah, across
Returning to
Atlantic.
the returning to the UK in a straitjacket is not very comfortable.